again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we are going to be doing some knitting. And this is the fabric stitch. Very easy, very simple. And the repeat, I think you guys are really going to like this. Technically, it is a 4-row repeat. However, 2 of those rows out of the 4 are just purling. The other 2, the right side facing rows, well, they are essentially the same, but they are offset. So that's pretty simple too. Yeah, so whether you're doing a scarf or a blanket or incorporating it into another project, I think you guys are going to like this. Now, all that being said, there are a couple of things that I would recommend regarding this stitch. First off, let's talk about color for just a moment. Okay. To really enhance what the stitch does with these sort of little bars in the front and so forth, personally, I think that a fairly rapidly changing variegated yarn really lends itself to this kind of a stitch. If you are using a solid color, hey, you know what? More power to you. You'll still get that lovely texture. If you're using a slow changing ombre kind of colorway, yeah, you'll kind of see, some of the effect, but not nearly as much. This, I think, is perfect. It showcases the variegated beautifully. Now, this is just me and my personal opinion, of course. Now, this particular yarn, I don't know the name of it exactly. I did, however, get it in a mystery box of yarn from Kramer's. So this is a worsted weight of 4, and it is all wool as far as I'm aware. It didn't have any band on it, so I'm winging it. And as far as the composition of the stitch, okay, it is in essence a stockinette style stitch where you're doing predominantly knit type stitches on the right side and purl stitches on the wrong side. That being said, it will have a tendency to curl on the edges. So if you are doing a blanket or a scarf, I would strongly recommend adding a border to that. Whether you're doing a garter stitch border, seed stitch, what have you, I would recommend that so that your piece does not curl. In order to do that, to the initial multiple that you're going to need, which, by the way, this is a multiple of 2 stitches for this particular pattern, you would then add an even number of stitches on either side in order to create a border. So say 5 stitches on this side, another 5 stitches on this side, so you would add 10 to your initial base count. And then, if you wanted to do a garter stitch border, well, regardless of whether you are on the right side or the wrong side, you would knit those stitches. So you would knit those first 5, go into your patterning, knit the last 5, flip it over, knit the first 5, and be sure to knit the last 5, etc., etc. And if you want it to be a framed border, well, when you're initially starting off, you would want to do several rows of garter stitch, would be, of course, just the knit stitches. That is to give you a basic understanding of what I would personally recommend for this stitch. Now, that yammer-yammering out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so for the basic setup of this stitch, you're going to need a multiple of 2 stitches. For this swatch, I'm using a total of 12. I'm not going to be adding a border to it. Of course, like I said before, you can do that if you want to. As far as the needle size, these are a size 9 or a 5.5 millimeter. Use what works best for you. When I was initially trying this, I was using 10.5s, and I found that it was a little bit too lacy for this weight of yarn. Play around with it. You will come up with something that definitely works for you. All right, so get your stitches cast on, and we will get started. Now, one more thing is that I used a knitted cast on for these. Link to that will be in the description box down below. If you don't already know how to do it, that's fine. And we will get started. Alrighty. Okay, so rows 1 and 3 are going to be the same. They are just purl stitches. Now, after doing the knitted cast on, me personally, before getting into the patterning, which most patterns call for, I like to start with a solid row of whether it's, knit stitches or in this case, purl stitches to sort of give us a nice foundation to work with. That is, personal preference. If you want to get started right away, you can do that. But yeah, for this first row, I am just going to be doing my purl stitches. And then we will get into the alternating back and forth of the fabric stitch pattern. But I just wanted to give you my personal take on what to do. And yeah, that pretty much sums that up. And it's only 12 stitches, so it is not that bad. And for those of you that are not familiar with that purl stitch, the yarn is in the front, and we're going in through the front of that loop. Wrap the yarn around, pull it through, stitch off. And then when we get to the end, just purl that last stitch, and we are good to go for row 2. Alrighty. Okay, so row 2, we are going to get started with the actual stitching. I know, better late than never, right? All right, now making sure that I'm working with my working yarn and not my tail. Okay, so basically this is very simple with using just knit stitches and slipping as if to purl stitches. So to begin with, knit the first 2 stitches. So yarn is in the back when we're knitting. So knit those first 2, then yarn to the front, and we're not going to purl, we're going to slip as if to purl. So yarn's in the front, and then just slip the stitch over from the left to the right as if to purl, then yarn to the back. And it creates a little bar right there. I had mentioned those earlier. And that bar is actually going to be very, very helpful in being able to read our stitches later. I'll show you what I mean. So right now, the yarn is in the back, so do a knit stitch. Then yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. There. All right, now for row number 3, turn your work and purl your way across just like we did for row 1, and I will meet back up with you for row 4. I'll see you in a bit. All right, so row 4, after we just finished doing our purl row, row 4, It's very, very similar to what we just did. Now, looking closely at our work, you can see that these two first stitches were knit stitches, and then where we did that initial slip as if to purl and that created that bump, that little bar, that is going to be our marker, our identifier as to what row we are actually on. And that will become more obvious, as you keep going, further and further. So because that third stitch has the bar, that means that this row, that bar needs to be on the second stitch so that the bars are offset. So for row 4, instead of knitting 2, we're only going to knit 1 and then get in with the slip as if to purl. So knit that first stitch, and then yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Now, this last stitch, we're going to knit that one as well, because slipping it as if to purl really wouldn't work out very well for our purposes. So on the row 4s, if you will, you knit the last 2 stitches, whereas with the row 2s, you start by knitting 2 stitches. So that's where the offsetting comes into play, whether you are starting with your 2 knit stitches or ending with your 2 knit stitches. That is the offset. So I am going to scoot back to row 1, and I'm going to purl my way back across, and I will meet back up with you for the repeat of row 2. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so row 2 for the repeat. Again, we're going to look at our work. And so as you can see, this second stitch, it has that bar sticking right out there. So that means that we have to knit the first 2 stitches, and then that third stitch, that is going to be the first slip as if to purl. Now, as far as whether it is a row 2 or a row 4, that's really arbitrary once you get into the swing of things. All you have to do is read where that bar is, and, well, you can go from there. So let's do it together, shall we? All right, so I'm going to knit those first 2. And we will proceed. So knit 2. And then yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, to the back, and knit, to the front, slip, to the back, knit, to the front, slip, to the back, and knit. There we go. And as I said before, because we knitted the first two, we knit the last one. Next row, we're going to knit the first one and then knit the last two. All right, so I'm going to purl my way back across for row 3, and I will meet back up with you for row 4. See you in a bit. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to do row 4 for the repeat. And once again, okay, so you can see we have a bar down here, and then we have a bar shifted up to the left. So that means that this second stitch needs the bar. So knit the first one and then hop right in to the slip stitches. So knit that first one to the front and slip to the back and knit. To the front and slip to the back and knit. To the front, slip to the back, knit to the front, slip to the back, knit to the front, slip to the back, knit, and then knit that last stitch. And there you go. Now, of course, you can refer to my timestamps for the specific rows. I always try to have them in the description box down below, along with the cast on, the knitted cast on that I mentioned before, and also, of course, whatever bind off you prefer. I like the Stretchy Bind Off, and I'll put a link to that in the description box as well. Alrighty. All right, my dear, so that is going to conclude today's video on the fabric stitch. I really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. Now, please forgive my being, very, very verbose and, perhaps even redundant. I just like to be very, very thorough so that you guys really understand not just what you're doing, but why you're doing what you're doing so that it makes sense. Being able to read the stitches so that you don't need to constantly worry about, oh, am I on this row or this row? I like to be thorough. I like to, make sure that you guys comprehend what it is that you're doing and why. Yes, so that it ultimately will make more sense. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great, great day. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.